Published, 11:51 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 26th of June 2018. Updated, 12:09 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 26th of June 2018. Well, there is always one of these at a World Cup, and I suppose we should be grateful that this time we had to wait 37 matches for it. There is such a thing as a good goalless draw, and this was not it. This was a game so drab, so awful and so spiritless that it was tempting to look at FIFA's big rulebook and see if there was any way that we could send both France and Denmark home. The whistles that greeted the final whistle almost drowned out the stadium music. We have not seen much like this in Russia 2018, and we should be relieved about that. France and Denmark played out a listless goalless draw as both sides eased into the last 16 of the World Cup on Tuesday. Andreas Cornelius shrugs off the ever-reliable Chelsea midfielder N'Golo Kante during the drab World Cup Group C affair. Former Cardiff man Cornelius attempts to use his strength to see off Kante at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow. Real Madrid's Rafael Varane towers above Denmark defender Jens Ryger Larsen during the second period. Steve Mandanda punches the ball clear following a cross into the France box. During the drab Group C clash, Antoine Griezmann had a very limited impact as France and Denmark played out the first goalless draw of the tournament. Denmark 4-2-3-1, Schmeichel 6, Dalsgaard 6, Kjær 7, Christensen 6, Larsen 6.5, Jorgensen 6.5, Delaney 6, Larriger 90 minutes 6, Braithwaite 5.5, Eriksen 6, Sisto 6, Fischer 59 minutes 6, Cornelius 5.5, Dolberg 75 minutes 6, booked, Jorgensen HAREID 4 France 4-2-3-1, Mandanda 5.5, Sidibe 6, Varane 6, Kimpembe 6, Hernandez 5.5, Mendy 49 minutes 6, Mazanzi 6, Kante 6, Dembele 6, Mbappe 77 minutes 6, Griezmann 6, Fekir 68 minutes 6, Limar 6, Giroud 5.5, Didier Deschamps 4 REFERE, Sandro Ricci, Bros 7 MAN of the match. Matthias Jorgensen. Sadly, for us and not for them, both these teams will go through to round 2, and that was part of the problem. Both knew that a draw would leave them in the top 2 places in another group where it was hard to work out whether first was any more use than second. So a draw they both needed, and a draw they both got. It is presumed that both teams can play better than this, but France, despite a squad of talented players, have been poor all tournament, while Denmark don't tend to turn it on unless Christian Eriksen does. Here, the Tottenham player was just as listless as everybody else, perhaps sapped the humid heat, or perhaps choosing to save himself for bigger challenges to come. France coach Didier Deschamps made 6 changes, which probably summed up his feelings towards this game. Still, his team created 2 or 3 good chances in the first half and really should have been ahead. This was a stifling hot day here, and the heat certainly didn't help the football. Nor did the fact that both teams knew that a draw would see them through. Beforehand there had been some back and forth between the two coaches, with Denmark's Age Harried offering his opinion that the French had not played well in the tournament so far. Harried was not wrong, of course, but his comments still seemed a little incendiary. With French resting players including Manchester United's Paul Pogba, their attack remained strong. Both Olivier Giroud and Antoine Griezmann played, and it was those two forwards who carried the greater threat. Olivier Giroud skies a shot over the crossbar after receiving the ball from Griezmann, who was later called offside. Kasper Schmeichel watches an Ousmane Dembele effort drift just wide of the left post near the end of the opening period. Denmark midfielder Christian Eriksen tries to get to the ball before France goalkeeper Mandanda. During the first half, Eriksen goes down with France's Lucas Hernandez after Mandanda and the Atletico Madrid man got to the ball just before him. The 26-year-old calls for a penalty following the challenge from Mandanda in the 30th minute of the final group encounter. Giroud finished the season strongly at Chelsea and deserves credit for leaving Arsenal in a bid to get his career moving. But he is not always convincing at international level, and 2 chances went begging here. In the 15th minute, the French were appealing for a penalty when Henrik Dalsgaard tackled Lucas Hernandez in the penalty area, but replays showed the Denmark player touched the ball, and Giroud probably should have done better than lash the loose ball over the bar. Opportunity knocked again for a player who has a very good record against Denmark just before the interval. This time the move was much more considered as N'Golo Kanté lofted the ball forward to Griezmann and the Atletico Madrid star laid it back nicely to Giroud on the edge of the penalty area. This time the 31-year-old had more time to strike a measured shot, but the end result was the same as the side-footed effort sent the ball into the stands again. They were France's best two chances of a poor first half. Griezmann had a curling shot saved and Ousmane Dembele shot across goal and wide. Kasper Schmeichel was not worried about either effort, and the greatest challenge facing Denmark was how to make an impact at the other end. Griezmann battles for the ball in the air with Denmark defender Kjær during the early stages of the Group C clash. Raphael Varane heads towards goal, but his effort drifts way wide of Denmark's right post. On Tuesday afternoon, Leicester and Denmark goalkeeper Schmeichel dives to his right to try and stop the ball from going for a corner. Martin Braithwaite went down in the penalty area after just 3 minutes following pressure from Presnel Kimpembe. Braithwaite protests after not being awarded an early penalty in Moscow against France, one of the World Cup favourites. The Danes could have had a penalty early on as Presnel Kimpembe tackled Martin Braithwaite clumsily in the box, while Chelsea's Andreas Christensen headed a corner across goal and Eriksen didn't quite have the legs to reach an inviting low cross from Andreas Cornelius at the end of a sweeping move down the left side of the field. With Peru leading Australia by 2 goals in Sochi, Denmark had nothing to lose. That scoreline would keep them in second even if they lost here, while victory over France would take them into first place in the group. Certainly the early stages of the second half witnessed a more adventurous attitude from the Scandinavians, and when France reserve keeper Steve Mandanda spilled a low effort from Eriksen, red shirts were sniffing the rebound as the 33-year-old was quickly up to gather at the second attempt. On the whole, though, this game had begun to drift towards an almost inevitable conclusion almost as soon as it had begun. The worst game of the World Cup so far? Almost certainly. Deschamps sent on Liverpool target Nabil Fekir with 20 minutes to go, and the Lion player immediately drove a shot into the side netting from angle. The crowd roared more in hope than in anticipation, and if they hoped that moment would prompt a flurry of late activity, they were wrong. Prior to the World Cup kicking off, Denmark manager H. Harried told a Danish newspaper that France are nothing special. Manchester United man Paul Pogba started on the bench against Denmark as Didier Deschamps rested some of his stars. The France starting 11 lineup in front of their flag as they sing their national anthem just minutes before kickoff. This Danish supporter proudly showed off his country's colors at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow.